All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Avel Espiritu. I'm part of the Lean-YEG committee. For anyone who's new to the group, Lean-YEG is Edmonton's lean community of practice, and we're a volunteer group focused on sharing practical lean ideas across architecture, engineering, construction, manufacturing services, and everything in between. We are aligned with the Lean Design and Construction Canada, and our intent is simple: learn together, share what works, and continue to strengthen how we deliver work in our region. Today's topic is one that many organizations are currently trying to navigate. Artificial intelligence is advancing quickly, and while many people have experimented with AI tools, the challenge is often moving beyond experimentation and finding practical ways to integrate them into daily work. And as lean practitioners, we're always interested in how new tools can help us learn faster, solve problems more effectively, and improve the systems in which we work. And so I'm really happy. Our today's speaker is spent, years helping organizations bridge the worlds of lean, agile, scrum, and emerging technologies. He is a best-selling author, an international speaker, a recipient of the Lean Construction Institute Chairman's Award, and a recognized thought leader on applying AI in practical ways within project-based industries. And today he will be sharing his AI Workspace Blueprint and discussing how individuals and teams can build systems that make AI a useful part of their work. So please join me in welcoming Felipe Engineer-Manriquez. So the floor is yours, Felipe.
Thanks, Avel. Appreciate it. Thank everybody for being here and participating with me. This, like Avel said, should be very interactive. If and I'll try to keep my Canadian speech pretty decent. If I see a word in English that should be Canadian, I'll try to translate it. Like we'll keep this process moving along. I can't help it, Avel. I got to get at least one bad joke in at the beginning. There'll be lots of bad jokes throughout this, and I
No
will
worries, we
laugh at
love bad
all.
jokes.
I'll laugh at all of them on my own. So I just want to let's blow up the chat now. If you've got little to no experience with AI, just put a number one in the chat and hit enter. And if you're building your own agents and you've got an army of AI working for you 24 hours a day, like I do, put a five in, and if you're somewhere in between, let me know. Let's see what kind of audience we have here. We got a couple ones, got a three, a two, we've got a four. That's excellent. A two, some threes, a one, two. Good. And as the last of you put your comments in there, one of the things that you might not know is that this idea of artificial intelligence has been around for quite a long time. Even the word itself gets the name was coined decades ago. Decades ago. Commercial artificial intelligence has been around since the late 2020s. Some people had early access to OpenAI's foundational models in 2019. When it became commercially available, I jumped on that bandwagon at the behest of my mentor, Jeff Sutherland, who's, if you've watched me on LinkedIn anywhere, any kind of way, you know that I love and breathe Scrum as a way to get things done. And I do the same thing with my AI. So without further ado, I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm going to keep this anchored towards more of the fundamentals so that people can come along with us on this journey. And if you've got a lot of experience, a comment or a question, this is a totally safe space. Don't worry about that red record button and living forever on YouTube to bother you. Get your questions answered. If you've got questions, it makes it much more interesting for me. So I'm going to go full screen on the share with sound. And the first thing you're going to notice is I'm using a Macintosh because Mac is superior when it comes to artificial intelligence, unfortunately, with the processors. And this is an M5 chip that's working here. So for all you Windows users that are just using whatever slogging through with internet models, hey, you're okay. It still gets the job done. But I'll show a couple of things here, and then we can go into some more examples. Everything you're going to see right out the gate, you see a PowerPoint presentation here. It says stop building AI agents, use folders. Sounds really dumb. And I watched when I first learned about this concept, it was a YouTube video, and the creator said, it took me more than a week to make this video because I felt like this was just too dumb and too simple for me to even share. But here I am, and I have a 1 hour video to cover how folders are the way to use AI and not making AI agents. And I myself at the time had probably built at least 20 agents by that point when I saw that video. And since then, I've stopped building agents myself. So you're learning from me, and I practice what I preach. The other thing that I'm going to give everybody who's here, if you go to ebfc.ai/playbook, you can get access to some of the concepts here that we're going to cover, as well as to go back to organizations if you want to share with your information technology groups, or if you have a small company and you're the one that's going to implement artificial intelligence yourself. This is a place where you can go and get some guidance from me as a playbook. And you would notice here in the ebfc.ai, this website was 100% built not by me. It was built by one of my AIs. I have more than 12 AIs that work for me in my AI company, and this site was made to help with this presentation so people have something as a takeaway. But we're going to focus back now on the slides. So I've got the slides back up, and we're going to start with the short video, and then we'll dig in and again ask questions throughout. The video is rather short, but it'll give a good overview of some of these concepts, especially the people with newer experience with AI. And then we'll get into it. We'll have a nice, hearty conversation here.
Let's talk about building AI workflows that actually work. I mean, systems that are sustainable and get you way better results from tools like Claude or ChatGPT. So, here's a pretty wild stat for you. About 84% of people are not getting the most out of these AI tools. They'll log in, try a single prompt, and then they miss out on the AI's real power. So how do you get into that other 16%? You know, the people who get consistent, high-quality results every single time. Well, this explainer is going to show you a simple but really powerful system to do just that. Okay, so first we have to talk about the core problem that every single advanced AI user runs into eventually, and it all comes down to one word: memory.
You see, an AI's memory is what we call its context window. And this window, it's not infinite. It's measured in something called tokens. A token is roughly 3/4 of a word. When that window gets full, the AI just starts to fail.
All right, let's imagine this. You've got a big, complex project on your plate. You've got all your notes, your research, a long list of instructions, the whole shebang. So what do most of us do? We dump everything into a single chat. We upload one giant file thinking, great, now the AI can see the whole picture. But then what happens? The AI starts to forget. It completely loses track of your original instructions because its context window is jammed full of information that isn't even relevant to what you're asking it to do right now. You're essentially wasting the AI's limited attention. You're forcing it to reread tons of irrelevant notes for one specific task. And in the process, you're just burning through its token memory. Okay, but the solution here is actually way simpler than you might think. You need to start treating your computer's folder system as the main user interface for your AI. So think about it. The old way, with that one giant file, just confuses the AI. But the new way, it's all about smart folders. Each folder gives the AI a very specific context for a very specific task, and that gives the AI incredible focus.
I mean, seriously, what's a simpler user interface than a folder? You don't need some complex new app. This is a tool you already use every single day.
So let's break this down. This system basically has a 3-layer architecture. A good way to think about it is like you're building a floor plan for your AI.
Those 3 layers are the map, which is your big picture overview. Then you have the rooms for all your specific contexts. And finally, you have the workspace, which is exactly where the work gets done. So layer 1, the map. This is like the blueprint you'd hang on the wall of a new house. It loads automatically and gives the AI the project's high-level floor plan, its overall structure, and its main goals. Now, that map routes the AI to layer 2, the rooms. And these are just folders with very specific information. For instance, a writing room would only have your style and voice guides. A production folder would only have your project pipeline. The AI only loads what it needs for that one job. And then there's layer 3, the workspace. This is where you keep your briefs, your specs, and the actual output files. It's where the work happens, and it's kept separate from all the instructions in the rooms. The AI is constantly moving files between these different areas.
And here's the real payoff. What you're building is a system that actually lasts, not just some temporary prompt trick that'll be outdated next month. And the value is just crystal clear. You get super high token efficiency and a workflow that's highly sustainable. Your AI works better, the system lasts, and, get this, the setup complexity is incredibly low.
Look, this isn't just some clever hack. The goal here is to teach concepts that actually last. This whole way of thinking is based on principles from software engineering that have been solid for 200 years. These are foundational concepts for building systems that work.
So how can you start doing this right now? It's simple. First, separate your thoughts into different folders. Use really clear naming conventions. Use simple, readable Markdown files. And for each task, route the AI to a specific folder. Remember, you're not just writing prompts, you're building a system.
At the end of the day, your folders become the AI's external brain. You're not just throwing prompts at it anymore, you are actually teaching it. So the only question left is, what's the first thing you're going to teach it?
That is a great question. So Notebook LM, which stands for language model.google.com, was one of the first experimental AI projects at Google that was running in parallel as they were developing their Gemini model. So I know some people use Google to search, and if you search, you're getting these AI results in your search window. Most often, those are being powered by Google Gemini 3.1 as of this recording, June 27th, 2026. And we got to say that because the models are changing about every 2 months. Notebook LM is a different type of application of AI where it creates a container that only uses references for the things that you put inside of it. So it's already like a folder of a single type. You put sources, you could put more than 50 sources into a single Notebook LM folder, like a notebook with like 50 sheets or less. And those sources could be YouTube videos, they could be Word documents, they could be PowerPoints, they could be Markdown files, which we'll come back to in a second. And then it's powered by, as of now, Gemini 3.1 to do the AI processing. And from there, whatever sources you give it, you can create a slideshow like the one you just saw that includes an audio overview as a video. You can also create a podcast and others. And as of now, it's free. I've been using it since it first came out to help me focus on different lean concepts or to synthesize long papers or procedures and sometimes even contracts. Just be aware that Notebook LM does do some training on its information. So if you have sensitive information that you're prohibited to share with artificial intelligence, make sure you anonymize that information before you put it there if you have such things to be concerned about, which some of us do, even in construction. So the trap of a temporary trick, like making an agent or relying on just a chatbot like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google Gemini 3.1, even Anthropic's Claude, Opus 4.8, or the 10 seconds we had the Fable before the US government pulled it off the market. The trap of that is that you're just going to throw everything you can inside of it. And even those of us that are using AI on our work computers, using Copilot, Microsoft Copilot is the white label version of OpenAI. And earlier this year, Anthropic struck a deal with Microsoft, and some ITs have enabled use of Anthropic to power their Copilot for certain things, like even having an agent called Cowork, COWORK, which is an app that Anthropic sells for Anthropic Claude Cowork, as well as Claude Code. Claude Code is a different animal altogether that we probably won't get into in this session. That's a more advanced AI topic, making code or programs. But the issue, and I asked Copilot recently, how many tokens can you currently process? And if on our IT infrastructure now, it's about 1 million tokens, 1 million tokens. OpenAI's ChatGPT can also process 1 million tokens. 6 months ago, that number was 256,000. But now it's 1 million. So they've increased the ability to put more in. And I'm going to tell you, don't do it. Don't throw a bunch of stuff in there in the attachments just because you can. You're not going to get the performance that you want. You're going to create a brittle framework that when your AI agent gets updated, as I said, these agents are updated typically every 2 months or 3 months. What worked 3 months ago is not going to work for you today. So instead, use this concept of a folder structure. That way, the AI will only delve into the different folders that are necessary, read the information, because you might not know this, but inside of most of the commercial available software, even something like a PDF has a lot of data that has nothing to do with the contents of what the PDF is as you and I, human beings, read it. So it's brittle. Context windows are finite. Like you heard in the video, it's about 3/4 of a word. This was a neurolinguistics programming research concept that was borrowed from artificial intelligence, and they used it. Now, token is just like, if those of you remember what an arcade is, it's just like going to an arcade. A token gives you a certain amount of play on the game, and tokens with artificial intelligence give you a certain amount of play with the AI, and it also is a way for AI companies to charge people money. So be aware, it's just like the arcade concept. You're going to have a limited amount of time to play before your time's up, and you got to put in another token. So if you're going to get close, like here in this image, you can see this context window. That if that represents 1 million tokens, and each one of these blocks is a single token, which is about 3/4 of a word. As you start getting higher, and you, especially those of you that are more advanced in your AI usage, you're probably looking at your token counts on a given window. You want to get somewhere around 80 to 90% of token usage before you need to start a new chat. So if those of you have used AI before and you've put in like project specifications and you're just like, this thing's garbage, I can't get anything out of it, you're blowing up your token window and you're creating the hallucinations. And if the best thing to do is to make a conversion to a more simpler AI-friendly type of software. We'll cover what that is in a second. But you don't want to give it things that you don't want it to consider. So we don't want to spill tokens down the drain. Replacing prompt engineering with 200 years of software engineering is what we're going to talk about too. Hype versus history. Prompt engineering is the summer of this year. It's probably going to be something we don't talk about 6 months from now. It's going away. The current frontier models now, and this is something that all of you want to pay special attention to, because the old way, the hype way, was for people to create agents or GPTs. Even as of right now, OpenAI for ChatGPT, like a GPT is a specific type of agent. They're almost hiding agents now in your profile. Like I was just looking this week and 2 weeks ago, and I was like, where did my GPTs go? They're now getting buried because the companies are moving away from this concept of making very specific GPTs. And at one point, OpenAI was playing with the idea of making a GPT store where people could build agents and then sell those agents time, and you can make money. And that's just never materialized, and it's not going to because of how the AIs are coming along. This will go back to prompting in a second. The interface used to be a chat UI, like you're talking, and it'll be a little tiny box. And as of now, we have AIs commercially available that can process images. We have AIs that on some of the frontier models that actually can process videos, where you can turn on your camera on your phone, and AI can read in real time what it's seeing through the video interface of your cell phone and give you feedback on what you're doing with its voice feature on some of the models. So that was the old way. The new way, which is super boring, I know, a folder. It's something we all use. And even this notebook that's created this presentation was all built on this folder approach, which is scary good. As I look at this presentation and I've given this talk a few times, I'm always amazed at how well it came out on the first try with almost no refining for me. So instead of giving in the old way, we would just drag a bunch of files into the window because we could and do a massive file dump. Now we're going to do layered routing where the AI, based on what we're asking of it, will read different folders and files selectively, almost like automatic prompting. The complexity here is like, for an example, for those of us that are using AI to do mathematical concepts or light software, even vibe coding, you can now, in the past, you had to create like complex Python or databases to run this type of stuff. And today you can just create a folder structure with plain text and you can create a database on your computer. And I'll talk about a couple of examples right now. I'm at the International Group for Lean Construction Conference, and if I go to their website, iglc.net, it's an academic organization, so the website's pretty basic. It's pretty basic. You can see here they have conference papers from every year except the first four when they started. So they're starting in 1996. There's about 25 papers there all the way till this current one in Singapore, which is where I am now, IGLC 34. If I click in there, you'll see that there's PDF abstracts of all of these. Now, these on this website are living in a database on some type of server out in the internet. You can see in this conference proceedings, there's this paper numberings. They didn't decide to sort this page by paper numbers for some reason. Like, it's not alphabetical either. Who knows how it's sorted? Again, academic people, not website builders, right? So, but we know here that there's over 100 different papers here. I had my AI go and grab all these and download this. I have an agentic AI that I use that grabbed all these and then converted them to Markdown files so that I can replicate this database and query on this. And here's an example. There was a gentleman that came up to me at the conference and we were talking about AI and he said, I'm curious. I work in quality. I don't, 2026, people still work in quality. It's just beautiful. I love that. He said, I looked in the IGLCs and if you just search quality here, like let's just search it. You can see there's a couple of papers here, even this year, 3 papers on quality. If I go back out and I search across the entire site, and this is how whoever set up this website, right? So we're just going to click on quality and let's see what results we get. And here we found 382 papers that somehow use the word quality. Now that is interesting. This gentleman said, I used ChatGPT the week before the conference as he was preparing his paper. And he said, I only found like a handful of papers on quality, only a handful. And he suspected that there were more. And you could just see here in the search results, I found 382. Now, because I recreated this and I told him, I said, what ChatGPT has done, it does have the ability to browse, but ChatGPT is designed to keep you engaged and to give you content that looks really confident, basically lie to you. So it gave him a subset of the total papers, and he thought, man, this is great. I've got like 10 papers. It was less than a dozen papers is what came back to him in his prompt, and he didn't share how he prompted it. But here you can see just me searching the word quality and spelling it correctly, I found 382 papers. Now, I gave this the same activity to my AI that is in charge of this duplicate mirror version of this, which is just a series of folders of these papers by year with Markdown files, which is just a text file of the PDF that doesn't include all the PDF software. It said there are actually only 79 papers where quality is the focus of the paper and not something mentioned in a tertiary way, because it was searching through that stuff as a database query, actually living in a database. And I told the gentleman, like, I'm going to have my AI put that result on my desktop. So let's take a look. Here it is. I'm opening it for the first time live with you. My agentic AI dumped it on my desktop, and let's see what came back. It's called IGLC Quality Papers.md. This is the power of what you can have when you use this concept of folders. So it said there's more than 75 papers from the conferences 1999, 2023. It's excluded 2026, 25. I need to go back and add those to my database. That's on me. That's not on my AI. And it just lists here from 1999. There's a paper. The first paper is using quality function deployment, QFD in the design phase of apartment construction projects. It gives the theme, what sector it has, and then it includes quality metrics for this person because this person wants to do a meta-analysis of quality. So I had a voice conversation with my AI, and then my AI came back, put a file on my desktop with all this information so that they can do exactly what they want. That's the power. And this program that I'm using is a free program by Microsoft called Code, C-O-D-E. So if you're just like, ooh, I kind of like this, I'm OCD and I like to see what line I'm on versus just a text editor. These numbers here on the left are non-printable characters. This is just, I'm on row 60 with paper number 8. You can download this program totally for free and use it. It's got some AI stuff here. You can already see I've got Claude sitting over here on the right if I wanted to use Claude Code to do some more sophisticated stuff, which we're not covering today, but there you have it. So let's go back to the slideshow. I'm just going to pause right there for questions because I just hit you all with a ton of stuff. And we're only like 200 years into the past with AI. So if you got a question, let me know in the chat. I'm going to rely on Avel to read those questions out loud because in the screen presentation mode, I'm basically running blind. Any
Yeah,
questions
no
so
worries.
far?
Yeah, there was one question that came up. What was your definition of an agent?
An agent is a very specifically trained AI that has been created to do something special. Like, for example, I could make an agent even inside of ChatGPT. So we'll just show an example. We'll go to my ChatGPT. Let me get this out of the way. And I'll open up just a typical GPT. You can see that I've got a handful of agents at any given time. Claude itself, I mean, ChatGPT itself is an agent. This interface here that you can see, this is an agent. This is a general purpose agent that we just call ChatGPT. And it's based on this one, I believe, is based on model 5.5. Let's see if I get there we go, GPT 5.5. That is the model, and the general model is the agent. Now you can make specific agents, and I was saying that here on the left, to get to my GPTs now, I have to kind of hidden it under more, and then there's these GPTs, and then there's my GPTs. So like, for example, I have a GPT based on my work with Scrum. This is my most favorite thing to talk about. I was just doing a workshop today. I actually did 2 workshops today in Scrum and with artificial intelligence. So this GPT you can get in the OpenAI GPT store for free. This agent is trained on my book and my consulting of using Scrum and construction with design and construction teams, as well as some very specific last planner system things. And it's specially trained, whereas the generic model can't use it. So like I'd say like, what's the diff between LPS and Scrum as an example? LPS is Last Planner System of Production Controls for my lean nerds out there. And Scrum is an agile management methodology, which is the way that I work. And of course, ChatGPT, because of how it's trained, it has to kiss my butt. It says, great question, Felipe. Like, that's totally unnecessary, but that's just how that's how it's built to keep you talking to it. And it says the answer is not that LPS or Scrum, but LPS and Scrum. In fact, chapter 14 from my book is Last Planner System and Scrum, one or the other or both. And that gives me a little practical difference comparison here. Lightweight talks more about the book. You're not going to get this answer in the everyday open AI. Now, I did find out that Anthropic has been under litigation for stealing intellectual property. Someone inside the lab turned it loose on a whole bunch of content. And my book is one of those things that it got turned loose on. And now the general open AI is trained on construction Scrum. Let's see if it'll tell on itself. What is the book? And I'm in the general chat. Construction Scrum about. So it thought for a couple of seconds. And it says it's about Scrum and Agile delivery. At its core, like, look at all this stuff that it knows about my book, like right out the gate. It doesn't mention me as an author. but it knows about this stuff in my book. This is just the general OpenAI ChatGPT because it trained. It actually knows most of the books that are commercially available. So like if you wanted to talk about the Toyota Way as an example, or even some of Jason Schroeder's books keep in mind Jason Schroeder publishes about 3 books a month, and I love Jason, he's my brother, but you got to give it time to get ingested. And you can ask, you could say, what is the last update for your training? This used to be trained up into February of 2025. The last time I asked it. Now this knowledge base on the general ChatGPT goes to August of 2025. So this model 5.5 was based on a set of data that stopped in August of 2025. So these models have limits. They're just not all knowing. And it brings me to another good point. The AI models are actually just sophisticated databases. They use probability and mathematics to determine what to tell you next. I know. I'm
That's
sorry
cool. I
to,
thought it was like 2022, 2025 now, eh?
yeah, August 2025. Yeah. So when you use this type of approach with this folder system, it doesn't matter what AI agent you put on it. So like you saw that example where I was looking at the different papers. That paper query was actually done using a Chinese model called GLM 5.1. GLM 5.1 pulled the stuff from the database, but I could have used Anthropic's Claude. But there was a time some months ago when Anthropic was doing some work for the United States government, and they were having some issues with staying online. So they became unreliable for me. I'm someone who talks to AI about 3 to 6 hours a day on a typical day. It's quite a heavy load that I put on these AIs.
Is that
So
because they talk nice to you, Felipe?
no, not because they talk nice to me, and each of them have very different attitudes. ChatGPT is probably by far the nicest. Some of the other models I use they're more, they skip all the foreplay and they just go right to business. So it depends on which model you're talking to.
There was one
But
other
this
question in
type,
the chat, Felipe,
yeah,
before
go
you go
for it.
on. Where do the folders that you create live? Any issues with data, sovereignty, security, privacy?
Yeah, so like I said, just be aware of if you're in a commercially available model and you didn't turn off learning or sharing the data, just assume that your data is being used to train the model. So here we're sitting in June 2026. We just saw that ChatGPT, for example, version 5.5, which is the current frontier model, was based on data of August. Everything we're doing, all the queries that people use with ChatGPT is training the next model. A section of this data is going to be used as they develop the next model update, which I think is already scheduled to be coming out soon. So Open OpenAI has a policy that it's by default turned to train my model. So your information is going. That's why you need to anonymize if you've got stuff that shouldn't be public. Like the example with the IGLC papers, those are academic papers published. They're in the open domain, so there's no copyright as long as you cite your sources. So I'm not using them for any commercial purposes. I'm using them purely for research and to deepen my lean practice. That's how I'm using them, just for me, or the occasional someone asks me a question about quality. I can do a query on my database that's a copy of it. But here's an example of like where my folders live. Like this workspace blueprint presentation, you switch to folder view. So here I have a README file. I've got some pictures. I've got that PowerPoint output from Notebook LM, and then I've got this humanizer folder. So if I switch to my folder view, this is just on my desktop, and this is Mac. So for those of you looking at this weird folder UX, this is a superior UX than what you see on your Windows computers. The humanizer folder has 2 subfolders, examples and references, and there's a skill.md file, and this is a plain English file that we're going to cover this skill in just a second. But you can have them on your desktop, and if I just show you my desktop, my messy desktop, you can see that I've got a folder for work. I've got a bulk folder that has some things. These are arranged, and I don't have any sensitive information here. These are just some of the projects I'm working on now. Like I've got production rules as a good example of some AI. So we had, at some point in our company, we generated this production rules PDF. This was the learning. This is just a 2-page, 11 by 17 learning of production planning and scheduling rules over 2 decades of work with a couple dozen practitioners. I took that PDF, turned it into a .md file, which is just a text file, which strips away all the non-necessary stuff. If I scroll down, like, how big is this bad boy? It's 378 lines, which includes this interaction instructions for AI. Well, we'll come back to in a second. I could drag this MD file into any chatbot, and I can have a conversation with 20 years of last planner experience. You can't do that with other types of prompting. So that's going to be a game changer for you. So like, just imagine you do that. I'll show you how to create the MD files. All the frontier models can do it themselves. And then button that back up. There's even a PowerPoint here as well. So I even made a PowerPoint to explain how to do that because I was doing a presentation internally for Bolt. So look, I've got a mix of stuff. I've got text files, I've got PowerPoint, and I've got some project folders. And you see there's lots of subfolders and different types of work, things that we've done, how I work. I've got, this is an old agent I used to have called Quality Ronnie. And I've told as the AI models inside of Copilot changed, Quality Ronnie became a trash agent. He couldn't do anything basic anymore. So when I learned about this concept, I took what I used to create the agent and I created a skill instead. And I put it in a special place inside of our company SharePoint file system so that people can drag this 21 kilobyte file and get the behavior of the Quality Ronnie agent, despite what Copilot is being powered by today. It's independent, it's model agnostic. So some people can run, in our IT company, our Copilot can run Anthropic or OpenAI ChatGPT. So this approach can work for both. And I've got some spreadsheets because, like a good recovering project manager, you got to have at least 25,000 spreadsheets on your computer or you're not worth your salt, as they say. So they live on my computer. I have another computer that these link to. These look like broken links. This is one of the beautiful things about Mac is that you can have desktops mirroring across different devices. So my agent that's at home in the States has access to this desktop. And if I turned on my VPN, I could get inside of these folders back in the US stateside, but I don't. I'm not turning that on right now. It's not necessary. So you take any type of raw code. Thanks, Ab. I'll keep the questions coming as they come. Any type of raw code you want to do, now let's get a little more intricate and build something interesting here. And instead of having a dense chat, some people I found that they'll keep a chat going for like weeks. And then they're like, man, this AI stuff is just garbage. It's like, well, you blew your context window. It's never going to tell you when it blows it. The way ChatGPT, like we look back at ChatGPT here, there's nothing here that tells you how many tokens have been burned. That's just not how this agent works. Now, Anthropic Claude and Claude Code, totally different interface. So let me just crack it open so you can see what that looks like. This is a different AI company, Anthropic, and they tell you how many tokens you're burning because this was built for programmers, not the everyday Joe public. So if we go, I'll open up a past code project. This was just a project change. This was a dashboard I was making for somebody at work. And here you can see I've got, it tells me the model here. It's Opus 4.8. And it says, I was playing with this a week ago. As this thing works, and because it's not active right now, down here, it'll actually tell you how many tokens are being used in a given chat. But since this is already done, it's not going to give me that data. And even the way that Anthropic Claude is based on, or how it's built, let me just expand this window here. I think that's preview. There we go. That's, there we go, files. Okay, so you can see here in the interface, if I open all the windows back up, on the left side, I've got chats, which we're pretty much used to, like new session chats. And then in the center, I've got the chat window with, here's the things that I'm sending it, and then here's the responses from it. And then on the right side, I've got files and folders. Wow, it's exactly what I talked about. Super boring. But this is how the best coding agent in the world operates. So, and this model even uses, I think the last time I checked, like something like 300 skills. I'll say how many unique skills can you access? I'm just asking this general question. I think it's over 300. This will only pull in, it basically goes to a tool shed and it pulls in the skills that it needs based on the ask. So it doesn't bring all of the tool shed to the party. It just brings a small tool bag. Here it's saying now I can access 23 unique skills, but they're grouped. So they've done some grouping because it used to be more than that. They say like they've got some on documents, code, research, configuration, memory, and metadata as an example. Gemini operates in a similar way, but not as beautifully as Anthropic when it comes to coding. So the folder is where it's at. It's a transparent structure. It's plain text. Now, the way you're going to get this benefit in your Bang is going to be using this Markdown file. So in 2004, John Gruber, a computer programmer, computer scientist, he created this Markdown file called Markdown, which is a universal language. A lot of us that use programs, like I use Trello for my Scrum. Trello uses Markdown for how it formats in the text boxes, like the bold, the italicize, the bullet points. That's a Markdown editor for that's what programmers use. Like most of the stuff you see on GitHub, when you see people showing their code, like it looks like the Matrix, they're almost always in some kind of code editor that's looking at Markdown files. Is how we look at computer programming code. But Markdown is supposed to be human readable text, so you can actually see what's happening. So imagine if you had, and this is Notebook LM's interpretation of what it could look like, a project overview. The hashtag in front of project overview just means treat this like a header and make it bold and big. So don't think of it hashtag like hashtag on social media. Hashtag means make this bold text. That's what the hashtag means. And then, so the Markdown is a bridge that crosses over to the right side, which is the machine parsable logic or the code, like the document root directory, paragraph blocks, different commands, instructions. So we talked about in the video that layer one is that map. So if you look inside of this humanizer example, I'll go back to my desktop here. Workspace Blueprint. I have this humanizer code. And this humanizer has a skill file inside the root directory. And the skill file tells it how to behave. The README file is exactly what it sounds like. Like, hey, read me first. 9 kilobyte file, I'm going to just crack it open. It says this humanizer skill is a portable writing filter for AI agents. Drop it in your project, and your agent stops writing like a robot. Man, wouldn't that be great if you can have it write more like you? Well, this is an example in Markdown of what you get. You get the skill.md, which is the main instruction, so that it stops writing like a robot and using M dashes. Like it wasn't until like 2025 that M dashes exploded across planet Earth because of some model training that ChatGPT had. Now all the AIs use M dashes. M dashes are the longer, like double long dash. Normal people use commas. AI was trained to use M dashes as proper grammar. It's like, sorry, we're not proper. So that skill.md in the root. And then this is just text. These are just text images here. These are just text characters. In the reference folder, it says that in the patterns to avoid Markdown file, there's structural habits, don't do it. So this is the telling AI, like, here's the words and phrases I don't want you to use. And you can just customize this. Like I can change this text, like jump in here. Like if I don't want structural to be capitalized, I can make it lowercase. It's not going to change the behavior of how this works, but look how simple it is to update this as I go. Then I've got phrases that are block listed, words and phrases that the agent should never use, like never. Like, great job, Felipe. Like, hey, I don't need that kind of reassurance. I'm in construction. I'm already brutally traumatized. I don't need anyone telling me how good of a job I'm doing because I don't need to cry today. Then I've got this examples folder that shows the before and after of some rewrites. And then it gives just more instructions. And this skill was based on the work of somebody that published in the public GitHub, and somewhere in here I give the guy credit because this is the type of guy I am. It's got to scroll. So somewhere it's in here. It's probably actually in the skill file itself. Let's go find that skill file. So here's the humanizer skill. Yeah, I give the author credit. HV Pandya version 1. And he has his own website. I give source. Now the AI can read this to know where this came from. And I've adapted this to work on my computer. So if I write something and I want it to sound more like me, I use this humanizer skill file instead of saying rewrite this to sound like me. And I'll show you what that looks like. We'll get to that example. So the first map was that README file. Like, tell me what's in this folder. That's the README file in the root. Then layer 2 are the different rooms. These are folders. Each room is just like a folder. In that example, we have 2 folders. And then layer 3 is the workspace. So inside, like the examples folders, it had like, here's a before and after. So if the AI, based on what kind of writing I ask it to do, needs to go look at before and after examples, it can just decide on its own and go do it. I don't have to micromanage it and say, hey, go to the examples folder. No, it'll just do it on its own. So we talked about the map. This is what the layer looks like automatically. You like walking through a building. And then here in one of the folders or the room, you can see I've got different guidelines here, an example for voice, examples for style. So if I go back to this website, like look at this beautiful website, black background, golden text. This is pulling, like as my AI made this for me, it's pulling from a style guide that I made for it because this is my EBFC AI brand. It's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous site, completely built by AI using my style guide. So I don't have to always tell it like, hey, we're working, and I can just tell my AI we're working for another EBFC.ai website. So like this is one site. This is one that's got the products. We'll go to the products and you'll just see like it's consistent in its branding because it's working in a folder system. I don't have to continuously upload my content and style guide over and over and over again. That's the beauty of using this folder approach. Let me go back down to the playbook here for all of you. Okay, back to the slideshow here. Okay, so the workspace, this is where the magic happens. So now as it reads these individual, and you saw the example that skill file is written in plain English. It tells it exactly what to do and in what order. So it's like first, remove all the don'ts, take all the things out from my writing that shouldn't be there. And then finally do the do's, make the writing better, more concise, whatever your style is. If you give it some style instructions, then you're going to get the output. So we go back to like this workspace blueprint. Eventually you'll get the output. You can, in your instructions, you can say, I want my output to go to an output folder, or you can just let it stay in your chat. It's up to you. There's a lot of customization here. And in this workspace blueprint, the EBFC.ai playbook, we scroll down here. There's examples here, the skill file, the references, they're here. So you can download right here. You can download these things, the playbook, the 4-step system. You can get the AI prompt to make this happen for yourself. These are just text files. I think this is a PDF. No, it's a Markdown file. And this one is a Markdown file. So these are just 2 text files that you can use to duplicate this type of stuff for yourself. Because I want everyone to be able to do this. Start a folder on your computer and get dangerous. Let's all move from our current AI abilities to something more advanced. And you can teach other people as well. So you can go into building. We use just native English, or, if you're in Montreal and you speak only French, you could put it in French too if you want to. We won't hold it against you. I have one Canadian friend, Dominic, who's like super French. He only learned to speak English like 8 years ago. It's like he has a beautiful accent, but that's all I'm going to say about you, Dominic. I love you, bro. Okay. English, and in this example, English language is the routing engine. So my prompt could be like, hey, let's go to the writing lab and draft a spec, and I can just drag stuff in. So let's try it in a second. So this is like a cool little computer board where the skill editing, I dropped this cartridge in like the old Nintendo version 1. And I drop in, if I need this code review, I might drop in this cartridge and review my code, and then it just goes to work and out comes what I want. So the folder becomes your app. Now you have an AI building apps for you, in this folder type of way. And this example I'm giving everybody here in today's training is how to do it for writing, because most of us use AI. It's one of the most popular uses of artificial intelligence is to rewrite things. So now you can build for the next decade based on a foundation of 200 years of software engineering. You probably didn't know that software engineering goes back 200 years to some of those early computers of the 1800s when the computers used to take up entire floors of buildings. You've got that. So I'm going to test one. I'm going to start a new ChatGPT chat, and I'm going to give it. I'm going to just go out to. I'll go out to my blog post and find. I can remember my company, my blog, the EBFC show.com. Oh, I can't reach my site. Probably typing it in wrong. So I'll just go. This is an AI site my computer made for me. It's like, hey, Felipe, you should have your own website. So Felipe.engineer is available. Take it. I was like, great. So I can't type today. My podcast is here. It's the ebfcshow.com. Okay. And here I have a blog. I'm just going to a blog because it's got a lot of text. So let's say, for example, that I've got some writing. You can see this blog post is probably, this looks like 3,000 words. So I'm just going to say I was writing a long email. For some reason, I'm writing an email to maybe to my boss about PPC. All right, that's totally possible. Actually, as I work in project production, it has happened where I've written an email to my boss about PPC. So let's say I go to my folder structure here, I go to my skill for the workspace blueprint, and I'm just going to drag that skill here. Now in this one, this skill has been made so that it doesn't have to go into the different folders for purposes of today's training. But I could also open the same thing in Code. So I go to Visual Studio Code and I go to open a folder. Here I have the view to see folder structure, open a folder. I'm just going to navigate to the humanizer skill. So here I've got the skill, the two references. That's totally cool. Do I want to save? No, I don't need to save. I had changed the spelling. So now I'm in the humanizer skill. Over here, I can turn on Claude Code if I want to. And inside of here, I have my chat, my folders, my Claude Code. It'll jump back and forth in these folders as necessary. To use the full folder structure capability, you do need something like Code. And you can change the AI here. Like I'm using Code here, Claude Code, but they have different AIs that you can plug into this user interface for free. Well, I'm just going to go back to the skill. So now I'm going to say, update this writing below based on the skill. This is a very bad prompt. Just to show you that prompting doesn't matter anymore as much as we think. So there's the text. I probably should tell it like, this is a blog post and I want it as an email to my boss. Keep it short. I just hit enter. So if I expand the thinking here, it tightened the version here. It only took seconds. So I'm in ChatGPT, but now I'm seeing the thinking on the right side. And ChatGPT, you can tell from this, I showed you an example of Anthropic Claude. They totally ripped off Claude because they didn't show the thinking on the right like Claude has been doing since day one. They all steal from each other. Then I was thinking here, first thing it did was it read the documents, and then it did some memory calculation to know who's Felipe, right? I work with the Last Planner system. These are memory files that it has on me that it used to help it with the language. So it sounds like me when it gives the output. And they use the skill files. So if I come down, it says, hi, boss name. I wanted to share a quick update on PPC Coach AI. And then it's a short email, right? So it converted a 3,000 blog post into a short email about what this PPC tracking does with artificial intelligence, as an example. Best, Felipe. Now I don't actually end my emails like that. So I'd have to update my skill to say, I only use sincerely, Felipe, because I'm so sincere. Well, that's all I had to show and share for today. So everyone, you've got the playbook at ebfc.ai/playbook. Please get in there and download these MD files, and you can follow these steps. This is meant to, you pick a task day one, then you play with it for a couple of days, building your own workspace folder. This is meant to be super easy to do with 5 minutes a day. You can get to like what I'm doing here, days 4 to 5. Build your prompt progress as a .md file so that you don't have to continuously prompt or save prompts. You can just drag that file in, that text file like I did. And then when you get to, the second week of doing this, now you can refine and edit those text files so that you can say sincerely me and not best. Some people say best, but I just don't. And then you've got the things to get started. So I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'm ready to answer any final questions that we have.
Awesome. Thanks, Felipe. I feel like everyone's like leveled up by like 10. You shared so
Good.
much there. So at this point, we're going to go to questions. If you'd like to jump in, use the raise hand feature, and you can ask the question, turn your video on. Don't forget to turn your mic on too as well. Or if you prefer, drop the questions into the chat, and we'll work through them together. When you first started off by saying, don't use agents, use folders, I was like almost a mic drop for me, because they that's what they pushed. They always pushed agents at the very beginning of this, right? And so like, yeah, use folders and then just train it every single session so it doesn't go hallucinate, because you're right. You throw so much at it, it doesn't know what to draw on, and things spill out. And all of a sudden, your ChatGPT or your Claude or whatever was working really good, and then it goes off on this big tangent, and then you're trying to bring it back again. Like, no, that's not what I wanted, right? It makes so much sense now. Yeah. Awesome. So first question, we have Satya. Satya, if you don't mind asking a question.
Yeah, it's just like I did put my question in the chat too, but like our company has actually banned ChatGPT and like used Copilot platform, like because of the security reasons and also the data management system that we currently have. So does your approach also apply to the Copilot Premium? Like we have Cowork, we have Claude, we have the GPT models inbuilt.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. Let me answer the first question, because I know you got a machine gun the questions to hit me with. So you're using Microsoft as your platform of choice. So if you're using Microsoft Teams or SharePoint site, everything you're actually doing inside Microsoft eventually gets on SharePoint. A SharePoint is a user interface for OneDrive. Everything in Microsoft actually already uses this approach of folders. So if you share a file with somebody in Teams and you're just like, you share it again, Teams will tell you like, hey, do you want to share this again or share this version that's already in your OneDrive? And you can just click yes or no, share OneDrive. It's already doing this folder approach by default, because that's how it's all built. So if you have a team OneDrive, for example, and you create an agent to do some type of processing for yourself, like maybe you have a skill to help you with writing RFIs, you can create a .markdown file, put it in your OneDrive, and then just tell your team, if you're writing an RFI, just drag this RFI writer into Copilot and right away, and it'll help you get the right references, maybe give you some tips and tricks so that you could get your RFI with a suggestion rather than not. And your company, and like many IT companies, incorrectly think that it's secure because they're running Copilot. If you just search Microsoft data breaches with Copilot, you're going to learn that 6 or 8 different times as of 2026, Microsoft's data has been hacked and private data has been leaked. And Microsoft just says, sorry,
Yeah.
as they say in Canada, sorry. But it's not secure. Even inside a Copilot, and most IT companies or IT people don't take this level of precaution. And most of us in construction, it's really not that serious for the type of stuff we do, but some things are sensitive. You should anonymize what you do as just best practice with AI. I often anonymize stuff even when I'm inside of secure AI platforms, just knowing that either I'm training the model or it could be leaked. It could be used against me in a court of law. So just be smart about what it is, and some things are really not that sensitive as well. So it kind of goes both ways. You still have to think about what you're doing. But yeah,
And
definitely can work inside of Copilot. And Copilot at Microsoft is either OpenAI ChatGPT, and you can find out by clicking. It's typically on the right side, but sometimes they, on their
yeah,
updates
we
on the
can
UX,
switch between the
you can,
models and play with
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
another
ChatGPT.
another question before I drop off for another meeting. So when we're dealing with project specifications, sometimes like when you're doing a proposal or a bid, you want to know like what would be my blind spot on the overall project and like what would be my risk and like the winning strategies. For that case, we would want the AI to understand all data, like chime in and
No,
then
no, you don't.
no,
You don't
you
want it to
don't?
understand all data. No, absolutely not. You're already in the couple of things you just phrased, you're exploding the context window. Like just those couple of things, if you watch this recording back when Avil posts this on YouTube, each one of
Mm-hmm,
those things you said can easily
mm-hmm,
go over 1 million tokens.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and AI is not, no AI is going to be able to tell you what's going to be the differentiator for you to win a project. It's only going to be able to generalize based on its current knowledge and the millions of people that have shared RFPs and RFQs with it in its training. And it has. It is actually very good at generating proposals based on
Mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm.
kind of generic things because it's been exposed to so many. So be more targeted on what's your actual differentiator. If you have a list of lessons learned, for example, where you've identified risks on a project, or you just brainstorm, you have a Teams meeting and ask your staff, hey, we're going to transcribe this meeting. And for the next 30 minutes, we're just going to talk about project risks. And now you're going to
Mm-hmm.
generate a single transcript from that
Okay.
meeting. Give that transcript to AI and say, categorize these risks so that they're categorized, and then help
Mm-hmm.
me address these in my proposal. Now you've spent 30 minutes of your time with the geniuses that are the human beings on your team, and you're going to get a much better application of AI using just text from a meeting. Do
That
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 instead of just
really makes
generalizing.
sense now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insight.
Never
And
forget. Yeah. Before you drop to your meeting, always remember that AI can never be creative. When it hallucinates, it's kind of like imagining, but it can never creatively think and solve problems like human beings. Not now,
mhm.
not ever.
Okay. Thank you for those insight. Like it's really helpful for me, especially working in proposals and teams. This was really a brain opening for me. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
And where
Yeah,
can I
like
find more of these? Like, yeah, that would be my next question.
Yeah, follow me. Go to Felipe.Engineer and just follow me on LinkedIn because I talk about AI weekly.
all the
Okay.
time he does. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Keep the good work going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Like, yeah, using it to sharing your transcript with it and getting session notes right afterwards,
Mhm.
right? Having the AI sit there and use Scribe or whatnot. Any other questions for Felipe? One came through here is there an AI that you think uses folders best?
I think right now by default it's Anthropic. So
Anthropic.
if I go to if I go to share my screen one more time, I still got my Claude open. This is the app on Windows. This is or on Mac. This is the you can see here on the left I've got chat. This is where most people look at it. It's like, hey Felipe, it's late. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. for me in Singapore right now. It's late night Felipe, which is hilarious because I do get spicy at nighttime. And then this is what most people use, like this chat. But Cowork, and even people that have the newest version of Microsoft Copilot now have an agent inside powered by Anthropic called Cowork as an agent, which operates like this. And if you look right here in this chat, first thing it says, hey, work in a folder. So this is the answer that ChatGPT did to compete with this is they created Codex. So Codex is ChatGPT's answer to this. Gemini, the closest thing Gemini has to this is Notebook LM. And I'll go to Notebook LM so you can just see here I can work in the folder like we were working in the IGLC folder, made a couple of presentations. I actually made the entire presentation using Opus 4.8 in this exact way, and it's like it's right here. This is the history from a couple of weeks ago. If I just go to the top, I gave it the template, my paper, And I said, read and understand this working in the single folder. And then it generated about 20 minutes later a perfect slideshow based on my actual paper, this academic paper, because I don't like to write and I don't like to waste my time doing trivial things. So that's a good one where you can very easily work in a folder and it stays in its lane. So if I go now to Notebook LM, let's see here, Notebook LM. We'll look at what that looks like. If you've never, unfortunately, because it's in like beta, you have to always click this try button to actually get to the interface. So it's loading my notebooks. I've got in this profile, not anything really interesting. Let me go to this profile, Notebook LM. It's based on your Google. It's free for right now. So like I have one on, let's say choosing by advantage. This is a very poorly understood lean construction technique that took me like a year to learn how to actually do anything. So here on the left side, I could add sources. This is the single folder where I can upload files, websites, YouTube videos, things off of my drive. I can copy text in here. I can search the web and then choose what search results I want to put in this folder. And then that folder lives here on the left. So you can see here I have a YouTube video and I have a checklist PDF. And then in the center, I have my notebook or my Google Gemini powered AI chat. So it's using its general knowledge plus the information in this folder. And on the right, I have the studio, which can create these artifacts like the one we used today for the presentation as an example. So like here, I've got a video overview and a podcast. And even you can interrupt the podcast live if you wanted to, as an example. Good question.
Nice. Awesome. Well, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I really appreciate you coming on board and sharing with us, Felipe. You probably had a really long day as well too. You probably have a couple more hours still to go, or are you going to be going to sleep here soon?
We'll go sleep for a few hours and then I'm off to the airport to fly back home to beautiful California.
Oh,
16
wow.
hour 16-hour direct flight. No big deal.
Well, again, I really appreciate you sharing with our community of practice. And on that note, we'll let you get some much needed rest. And thank you from the Lean Community of Practice here at Edmonton for sharing your really awesome stuff on AI.
Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.